No matter what sort of guitarist you are, the likelihood is that your sound will need effects or at the very least amplification. When it comes to multi-effects, Line 6 are one of the biggest names in the industry, and following the recent release of the HX Stomp XL as well as the Pod Go Wireless, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to have a little sit down and run through the entire range, figure out what's what and which one might be right for you. So why are there so many different Line 6 units? Well, each one has been designed with a specific application in mind. A lot of these are born from user requests and they have stripped back or additional features to suit the differing needs of different types of guitarists. This means that essentially there's a Line 6 unit for everyone. Now each of these units is its own beast and I could probably talk about each one for about as long as this video is going to be, but I'm going to be brief. I'm going to cover everything you need to know in terms of the differences between them and then help you try and figure out which one might be right for you. Even our Line 6 rep who I spoke to about this did not envy the task of covering all of these in one video, but I'm going to give it a go. So to that end, let's go through the range. Now essentially you can split all the units up into three different categories. You have the Helix range, the HX range and the Pod Go range. So the Helix range are professional grade, feature rich units which are the top of their game in terms of processing power, the amount of uses you can use it for and the sounds you can get out of it. Whereas the HX and the Pod ranges are designed to be a little bit more stripped back, simpler and more specifically functionable for the common guitarist who might not necessarily need all of the bells and whistles that you get on the Helixes, but without sacrificing that good sound. Let's talk about the Pod Go range first then. So these units are perfect for beginners or people who are looking to dip their toe into multi-effects and amp simulations. They're designed to be a one-stop shop for effects and your amp sounds. So they're portable, you have loads of options straight off the bat, and you have loads of assignable foot switches and an expression pedal which give you instant control straight away. So these units are designed to completely replace your rig, so whether you're looking for something portable, maybe to take along to a gig, or if you're just looking to take advantage of the massive amount of different amp models and effects in them without necessarily forking out loads of money for different amps and different effects. So within this range you've got the Pod Go and you also have the Pod Wireless. Now the wireless is exactly the same as the Pod Go, but as the name suggests, it has a built-in wireless system with a included G10-2 transmitter that you can plug into your guitar, and if you're playing weddings, you can still hit that great solo whilst enjoying the buffet. The Pod Go range is great for its simplicity, its affordability, and the amount of control you have with the buttons and the expression pedal straight off the bat. However, if you're looking to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of the setup, maybe run a few more effects at once, then perhaps it's worth looking at the HX range. So there are three options in the HX range currently. You have the HX Effects, which I don't actually have with me, but I'll just put a picture of it here. You have the HX Stomp, and you also have the HX Stomp XL. Whereas the Podgo range is designed to completely replace your setup as a one-stop option for your effects and your amp simulations, the HX range was designed more to complement an existing setup, hence why they're a bit more compact and there are a few less kind of buttons and onboard controls than the Podgos. So the HX Effects is a great option at an affordable price if you're just looking for something with a load of built-in effects that can complement either your pedal board or just go in front of your amp to give you a load of options like choruses and delays and other different effects. Now, it doesn't have any of the onboard amp simulations that the other HXs have, or indeed the Podgos have, so you'll definitely need to put this in front of an amp or in front of a preamp. However, if you're just looking to use the effects side of it and want something compact and affordable, then the HX Effects is great for you. So the HX Stomp is a great compact processor with loads of different amps and effects with a lot of control over the presets that are built in there. Now, it lacks the amount of onboard assignable foot switches and indeed the expression pedal that the Podgos have, but you can add these in if you want afterwards, and it gives you a lot more processing power and a lot more control over your signal chain and all of the presets, things that the Podgo don't have. You'll really notice the difference when you start to stack a lot of different effects at once with this, and as well there's a lot of customization in terms of things like the effects loop. So the Stomp XL provides you with more assignable foot switches on board, so there are 6 that you can edit, 8 in total, and as well as that, it's got a bigger screen, you've got a few more presets in there, and as well as that, it allows you to set up an extra snapshot within each preset. What is a snapshot, I hear you ask? Snapshots are basically a preset within a preset. It means you can set up different customizations of parameters and settings and foot switches being on and off within each preset so that you can control them at a touch of a button, which makes it perfect if you want to turn off 3 or 4 different effects at once, maybe boost the level of one effect or drop the level of another. The more of these snapshots that you can have on board, the more control you have with your feet and the less you have to bend down and whittle knobs mid-set. So in terms of its size, the HX Stomp XL sits very much between the other HXs and the Podgos, so you get more controls on board. They're still smaller, they're still more designed to be part of a bigger rig. However, it gives you a bit more control, it gives you more presets, it gives you the extra snapshot, there's a bit more power on board. So it's basically just a bigger brother. So now that's covered, let's move on to the Helix range, which is very much the top tier when it comes to Line 6 multi-effects. So there's 3 different options in the range. You have the Helix LT, you have the Helix floor processor, and you also have the Helix rack, which is behind me there. Fundamentally, they all have the same power under the hood, but they have their own differences, which will suit specific markets in their own rights. So firstly, we have the LT, which is a stripped back and streamlined model with a lot of what guitarists might find unnecessary input and output options removed. It has the same onboard capabilities, but with less option for effects loops, various inputs and outputs, and also doesn't have the mic preamp that the other ones do. It's more affordable and it's got the same sounds and presets as its bigger siblings. So next up is the Helix floor. It's got incredible power, a massive range of sounds, and there's loads of options for inputs and outputs on the back. It is essentially the ultimate option for a floor-based processor and amp modeler. So there's thousands of different presets on board, and there is loads of parallel processing capabilities thanks to its onboard DSP that allow you to really stack loads of effects and different amp models on top of each other. It's definitely one for the professionals or for the hardcore enthusiast, and it is priced accordingly. So it primarily builds on the LT by way of adding a ton more input and output options, things like sends and returns, and it gives you a wealth of different options for differing needs, and it gives you that flexibility in a studio or live environment. Finally, you've got the Helix rack, which is really the ultimate beast in terms of Line 6 multi-effects. So it comes in this rack mountable format, which is perfect for bigger live touring rigs, or even fits really nicely into a studio rack, and it gives you even more inputs and outputs than the Helix floor. Now, I don't want to dwell too much on the differences between all the inputs and outputs of these three units, mainly because I would be here for hours talking about the different capabilities of these complex beasts. However, put it this way, if you are looking for something that's got world clock or SP diff, or if you even know what they are, then the likelihood is you're already looking at either the floor processor or the rack. It's important to note that despite all the input and output differences between these three models, they all fundamentally have the same engine under the hood. So if you don't need things like SP diff or world clock inputs, things like that, then you're going to be absolutely fine using the LT, and you're not necessarily going to be sacrificing the quality of the sounds. So now that we've gone through the range and all their differences, let's talk about why you would want to go for a multi-effects or a floor processor like these over getting your own pedals and building a pedal board. So one word springs to mind for me, and that's faff. Don't get me wrong, I love my pedal board, but my God, is it a faff getting all those pedals in the right area, setting up your signal chain, managing all those cables and all the power, and don't even get me started on when something goes faulty in the chain. Sure, absolutely. If you were to sit down and pick each individual pedal on your board, then you might get a sound that you're happier with for one rig. However, that is only one rig. Even the cheapest multi-effects we've looked at today has got over 100 different presets built in with 200 different effects. Further to that, with the snapshots feature we mentioned earlier, it's even possible to set up those specific presets to turn on and off or change settings with the touch of a single button. Do you want to turn on your drive and your boost whilst turning off your chorus and delay without looking like you're learning to tap dance? Well, with these units, you can set that up to happen at the touch of a button without looking like Bambi learning to walk as you turn off 3 different pedals and switch 3 different knobs, all whilst trying to nail that lead part you've written going into the chorus. Sometimes you just want a cheaper, more convenient option that gives you way more flexibility in terms of the different sounds that are at your feet. You can get far more tonal options, you can get far more amps within one unit, and you get loads of different effects, and you're not sacrificing on the sound quality. These things still have powerful engines even on the cheapest option. These can complement pedal boards, they can replace pedal boards, they can even replace your entire rig. They do everything. So that's a brief overview of everything in the Line 6 multi-effects range. As I said at the start, there are a lot of different options, but hopefully this video has helped break down the differences between all of them and helped you maybe hone in on the one that specifically suits your needs. It's important to note that it is entirely down to the individual as to which one of these will suit who, and you're not necessarily sacrificing anything in terms of the quality of sound and the range of effects. All of them are still way more convenient than a normal pedal board. But look, that's a very brief overview of everything. If you do want to get into the specifics of each unit, then you can find a ton more information on our website. The links for each one will be down in the description box. And if you own one of these, why don't you pop in the comments if you've got any advice for anybody potentially looking to go for one, or if you're someone who's looking to buy one and has some specific questions that someone who might own one might be able to answer, then drop a comment as well. Let's start a discussion and let's help each other out. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, subscribe to see more content like this, and we will see you very soon.